Well, hello everybody. It's not that bad of a day when your team wins 31-0 and everybody thinks it could have been better. Welcome into the TexAgs post-game wrap. I am David Nuño. It's presented to you by Higginbotham Insurance. At Higginbotham Insurance, that is something that's special to them, but they want their customers to be their number one. That's why they work hard to understand your priorities so that they can get you covered on day one and provide you year-round value with day two services, whether it's helping you prevent and minimize loss or offering you deep expertise so you can maximize your time and minimize your hassle. Their day two service encompasses everything you need to turn your risk into reward and challenges into opportunities. So A&M does win this game 31-0 over Sam Houston. Some good, some bad, but we're going to break it all down here on this TexAgs post-game wrap. So I will ask you guys, you can comment on the show. We will be able to put some of those up. What did you think of the Aggies' performance? Were you happy? I'm sure many of you were upset with the long delay, the weather delay. I'm sure some of you were disappointed with the turnovers. We're going to break it all down. I do want to start off with some good stuff, though. For the first time since the 1993 season, A&M does have a shutout in the game, 31-0 today. They did it against LSU back in 1993, 24-0. So I'm going to give you some what I liked, what I didn't like, go through some of the big plays during the game, and then welcome in our panel as we have all the time. Brandon Leone will be joining us and Chris Taylor as well. So we start things off with what I liked. I want to go with the freshmen. I think all the freshmen were impressive. They were getting him in early and often. I really liked what I saw from Evan Stewart, especially Chris Marshall, Walter Nolan. Guys were able to get to the backfield. That defensive pressure from freshmen out there, without a doubt. But Evan Stewart is a special player from the jump, really from the jump. Throwing deep, I did like that, or downfield throwing. Those two, couple of long touchdowns in that game. Ainias Smith having a big part of that. You got to love his performance out there. The big touchdowns in that one, and the defense, of course, as I mentioned, pitching that shutout. A lot to be excited about in that game defensively. To me, it seemed like Sam Houston only moved the ball when plays were broken down, or a referee would pick a wide receiver or defensive player to allow that Sam to move the ball. So there's a couple things that I did like. What I did not like, the interceptions. Didn't like it at all. And I know you didn't. There were several times that I thought Haynes King was trying not to make a mistake, underthrowing or throwing into coverage that he should not be throwing to. But the underthrows really bugged me. That was a huge problem. The offensive line was a problem in this game, especially at the left side of the offensive line. Layden Robinson was coming in and out of the game. Moko was coming in for him. Bryce Foster wasn't out there, but the line did struggle in this game, which leads me to my third did not like. They couldn't run the ball. And that's, of course, a huge part of that was the fact that the offensive line was struggling. But bottom line is they were not able to run the ball. Looking at these numbers in here, A&M only had 87 rushing yards in the game. They did throw for 364 yards, but 87 rushing yards. I wanted Devon Achane to have a Heisman campaign season. This is not how it started off, though. 17 attempts, 41 yards, and a touchdown. 12-yard long was his long in the game. So that's how that part of the game went through. Some likes and dislikes, but we'll break it all down with you. A couple things I did want to talk about throughout the game. I thought it was some pregame jitters. Maybe it was first game jitters, whatever you call it. They certainly did not start off well. Haynes King did miss some throws. Achane early on in the first quarter, 4 carries, 3 yards. In that first quarter at halftime, it was 8 carries for 8 yards. That just kind of shows you some of the running game issues. But they were able to get things going there with their third drive, that 66-yard touchdown to Keith Brown. That was a beauty. Stretching the field. Love that. Sam responds, driving into the red zone, but Andre White, who was a part of a couple turnovers in this one, tips a pass. Jordan Gilbert with the interception. They were not able to capitalize on that one. A couple drives later, almost picked off, throwing it to double coverage to Ainias Smith, but he makes the amazing catch, skies it over a couple of defenders around them. A little bit later, it is underthrown into the end zone. Haynes King does underthrow Evan Stewart, picked off by B.J. Foster, the former Texas player. They get their second score of the game when Haynes does hit Evan Stewart over the middle for a nice pickup of 23. Evan does drop the gimme, but Caden Davis does get the field goal in there, makes it 10-0. The Aggies get the ball with about a minute 30 left. Haynes over the middle, a 63-yard touchdown there to Ainias Smith. They're up 17-0 at that point. And I just do want to remind folks, last year at the half against Kent State, it was only 10-3. This one was 17-0. Things got better for that offense. Things will get better for this offense. Haynes throws for an uneventful 231 yards in 2 scores in the first half. As I mentioned, A-Chain with only 8 carries for 8 yards. A weather delay, and this weather delay lasted a little too long, guys. It looks like it was. Do I have that on here? I don't have it, but I think it was close to 3 hours. I thought I had that number there, but I don't. But we move on into the third quarter. And after the delay, it's A-Chain who gets the bulk of the touches for the score, 24-0. Haynes does try to go deep a little bit later, but does not go well. It gets picked off, goes deep again for the 43-yard touchdown, again to Aniyah Smith, 31-0. Sam with a fake punt. They pick up the first down, but then Andre White forces the fumble. Jacoby Matthews picks it up, and basically that was game time. So that's your recap of the way this one went, 31-0, as I mentioned. 497 total yards of offense, 387 yards passing, 110 yards on the ground in this one. The star, Aniyah Smith, 6 receptions for 164 yards and 2 receptions. As I mentioned, Haynes King, 364 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. All right, so let's get our panel into this one. We're going to go to Brandon Leone, who joins us, the former A&M DB and running back who joins us always on the post-game wrap. B, let's get into it, man. I set the tone. Look, it's a good place to be when you win 31-0, and yet there's 100 things that I want to correct.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, like you said, it could be first game jitters. It could just be a lot of young talent being out on the field. But ultimately, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to get cleaned up if we want to be in that rare air that we hear Jimbo talking about. The offensive line, I'll start with maybe the thing that I thought was most concerning. It was the offensive line play in the run game. I thought they did a great job in pass protection. I thought Haynes did a good job staying in the pocket. He didn't, try to force anything, running around too much. It looked like that was one of the positives of his game today. But not being able to run the football when you got what I think is the best running back in the country against Sam Houston was a little bit concerning. I know we got some guys out, and I know they've had some issues throughout camp. They know this more than we do. They got to get that cleaned up. That's not going to work against elite defenses. We have to get that cleaned up. The thing, Nuño, that I was most encouraged about was the influx of rotation and talent at the wide receiver position. Evan Stewart already looks like he's better than advertised. I mean, he's stretching the field. I think knowing that he's out there as well as Chris Marshall and even Keith Brown is going to make defenses prepare against us differently. But then going back to that first negative, if we're not able to run the football, then it's going to change things then. So we got to be able to be good on both sides and execute on both sides in the run game and the pass game. We got too much talent at running back. I know we have the talent at offensive line. They got to clean it up. But overall, man, 31-0 against a team that's lost one game in like their last 20 plus. 11 a.m. with a 3-hour rain delay. It's just it's just not an ideal start to week one. But they did it. It's 31-0. You got a shutout. Defense looked dominant, and I think they're going to build on this.
What about Haynes? When he was good, he was really good. And I think he was much more poised in the second half. But some of the throws out there, it looked like he was trying not to make a mistake on some of those underthrows.
It's hard to tell, right? I mean, I wish I could go and watch film and then come back and visit with you later this week, from all angles. Is it lack of arm strength? Is he nervous to take a real deep shot? Is he trying to force things? I don't really know what it is when it happens so quick, but I know it can't happen. That's what I know. I mean, he's turned the ball over from an interception standpoint. I think at least 5 interceptions in 3 games. That's just not the way that you win championships. And so Haynes brings so much to the table to make this offense dynamic with being able to run the football when things break down. And I think he has got to clean that up. That's up to him. That's up to Jimbo Fisher and this staff to make sure that he cleans it up, because it's not going to work if he continues to turn it over 2 times a game. I mean, we all know that. I think that's why everybody leaves a little bit like, ugh, today. That's kind of the one thing that in the run game makes you nervous. But Haynes has got to clean it up. Whether it's take the easy throw, don't try to force it. It's hard to tell, David, without knowing what's really going on. I just know he can't do it. He's got to clean that up, period.
So when it comes to A-Chain's game, how much – I mean, I think the line deserves a lot of it. But did you see A-Chain doing anything that caught your attention of maybe – putting himself in some bad spots? Because, I mean, I felt like even when they gave him the ball in space, he wasn't able to do what we expect him to do.
It's one of those deals. I wish we could look at the view from the zone together and see from behind the line of scrimmage and see what's going on up front. What kind of stunts was the defensive line doing? What were they doing to create confusion up front? Or were we just getting beat? it's hard to tell. But it looked to me like we weren't giving him any space. I don't feel like he had creases or holes or anywhere that he could go. Every single time he had someone either on him or he was trying to like get down and cover right away to protect the football. It just didn't seem like he was able to utilize his gifting, which is his speed, his acceleration, and his quickness. So I think the O-line was either getting confused by the stunts or they were just getting their tail kicked. But they weren't executing today. And when the O-line, I don't care if you're the most talented running back in the world. I mean, unless you're Barry Sanders, right, which is a rare type talent, it's hard to create when you don't have any type of space at all. And we've seen Devon do it. We just got to get that guy the ability to get through the line of scrimmage to the next level and do what he does best, which is make explosive plays.
Brandon, about that defensive line, though, look, to me, they were in the backfield a lot, and Yates it's got some speed at quarterback, but the fact that the D-line, they kept on rotating different guys, and it didn't matter who. It was like Anthony Lucas, if it's everybody, Walter Nolan. I just felt like everybody was in the backfield pretty much anytime they wanted to.
Yeah. No, dude, listen, that's the thing that's encouraging to me. We have so much elite talent on the defensive side of the football, and I would say primarily it seems across the board. Linebacker, we're getting there, but that defensive line, I mean, I was looking at the rosters. Okay, who's 18? Who's 30? Who's 8? I mean, there was Anthony Lucas, Eni White, Regis was in there. And did you see how fast Regis was moving when he was chasing that quarterback? That's a big old boy running like that. Walter Nolan, I mean, you saw he's doing – I mean, those guys are going to create problems. And what I come away with today after watching the defense, and I don't care if it's FCS or FBS or whatever, what I come away with is the fact that if we can take care of the football on offense and just have kind of those methodical drives, take what the defense gives you, have some big plays here and there, this defense is going to keep us in games. Our front talent on the defensive line is elite, despite being young, and there are some problems on that line of scrimmage. It's a big deal.
It took a while for a tight end to catch a pass in this game. I think Jake Johnson was maybe the first one, and that was with 5 minutes left in the game. Can you remember a Jimbo Fisher offense not going to the tight end often? And many times they didn't even have a tight end out there.
Yeah, no, I can't. I mean, usually the tight end is the focal point of his offense, and I think I've talked about this, I think, with you for years on the show, right, is, when Jimbo has those super talented tight ends that he trusts, that he know the system, that he can count on to not only block, but also go make catches and create separation, running routes, the offense flows a little bit better. I think not having Max Wright out there, that veteran presence from him as a blocker, I think he was running more 10 and 11 personnel, right? Less tight ends, more wide receivers. And so it was interesting, though, because it also was encouraging to me because I saw us rolling in receivers, right? You saw Chris Marshall, you saw Evan Stewart, you saw Hugh Keith, you saw Chase, you saw Nias. And so I don't know if it was on purpose because Max was down and we just had freshman guys, or if it was like, hey, let's get Haynes and these receivers, let's get them comfortable together in actual games. Let's get them ready for this stretch we got coming up in game 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let's talk a little bit about the ability to go downfield. They were trying to throw, and Aniyah Smith had a huge performance out there. Your thoughts on what you saw from an offensive standpoint, and also Aniyah Smith in particular?
Well, Aniyah, he's proven himself for 3 years. I mean, we knew what he was going to do if given the opportunity. And so I'm telling you, like, this is an interesting day because you leave with some – I leave very encouraged because the style of offense that we played, take away not being able to run the football effectively, the fact we were stretching the football field, taking shots downfield, running vertical routes and crossing routes. And to me, that's what we haven't done in forever. And so if Haynes King can start to limit those turnovers and you see – the guys that we have, Aniyah Smith. I mean, Evan Stewart literally looks like a polished veteran already. Chris Marshall. And then we haven't even really got to see Noah Thomas roll in a ton yet. I mean, there's just so much talent and game-breaking talent at the wide receiver position that we got to stretch the field. We got to do that. And that's going to help our offensive line hopefully adjust in time for some of these really big games because I loved the fact that we were stretching the field. I mean, what do you think? I mean, didn't you feel like we were taking more shots downfield than we've seen in a while?
Absolutely. You know what it reminded me of, and this is probably not a fair comparison, but it reminded me of last season with Zach. And what I mean by that is where the defenses were like, we want you to throw on us. We want you to throw on us. The only difference was I felt like A&M was saying, no, we want to throw on you. We want to throw on you, because they could not run the ball.
That's right. Yeah. Last year they were trying to, force us to pass the football because they knew we couldn't do it. And this year we did it because we wanted to do it, And so, again, I think when I leave today, Nuño, When I turn this off and I go back and watch as much clips as I can, like I do every single week, getting ready for next game, is man, can this guy, can 13, get his head in the game and take care of the football? Because if he can, he's shown he made some really good throws across the middle. He made some good throws in that mid-intermediate range. He's done the things necessary to help this team win football. We have enough talent on defense. We have enough talent at the skill position that if we limit turnovers and we keep people out of the end zone, we can go and win a lot of games. But we need Haynes King to be the best version of himself week in and week out. And I think he knows that. We need this offensive line to perform up to their expectation and their ability level. And there's just a lot of young talent on this team, a lot to be excited about. But yeah, today is just kind of one of those deals. It's like, it was a little frustrating, but also encouraging, if that makes any sense at all.
Brandon, stick around because I want to get you and CT together here in a moment. I'm going to bring in Chris Taylor now, former A&M wide receiver, breaking it all down as he always does after the game here on the Higginbotham post-game wrap. TexAgs post-game wrap brought to you by Higginbotham Insurance. All right, CT, so this game in particular, give me your thoughts. We'll go good and then bad.
I think good. You're looking at, defense shutout, 31-0. I mean, even in today's game, it's tough to have those games where you're shutting out defenses. I mean, with it being an offensive powered, game today, to have that defense be able to pitch a shutout, I think those things are good. Again, when, like you and Brandon were saying, Haynes, when he was good, he was really good, and we talked yesterday, taking the shots down the field, 7 to 8 to 10 shots down the field. Now, you have to protect the football when doing so. And so I think all of those things are really good. We're trending in the right direction. We're putting those things on tape. Other teams have to respect the fact that you will take those shots down the field. So I'm encouraged by that. You're looking at having those young guys make a contribution early. That defensive line is going to be disruptive. That's a special bunch. The wide receiver group, I thought they made some great plays. I thought they made plays for Haynes, making sure that they're in the right place at the right time. From what I understand, Jimbo's offense is not the easiest to understand and to learn. And so to have those guys be in the right place, throwing for over 300 yards, doing those things, that's all encouraging. But again, the ugly rears its head. You can't run the football. To have a guy like A-Chain in the backfield and to have him where he's stifled the way he is, and not being able to block a Sam Houston front, it's only going to get tougher from here. You bring in a team like Appalachian State next week that put up 61 on North Carolina. We're going to have to do some things to control the ball, to be able to slow that down, to not have our defense on the field the whole game. So I thought there were some really good parts to what we did today, but I also think, again, Haynes has to protect the football. He can't put it in harm's way, because if he protects it and we don't give it away, we win the turnover battle. I think our defense is one of the best in the country, and they're going to keep us in most games that we play this season.
Was there a point during the game, and I'm going to say, 7 minutes left in the first half, where it's 7-0, they still hadn't made it 10-0. You're thinking to yourself, are they going to turn it on? Because they hadn't turned it on yet. And then they never really turned it on, CT, but it didn't matter. They just did what they had to do. They'd have a long drive. They'd score. They'd get basically a score a quarter.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's the opponent that we were playing. Not to take anything from Sam Houston. They're making that transition to the FBS, but that wasn't our toughest competition. You look at, next week, and then especially week 3 and 4, as we start moving and we start playing more ranked opponents, that's going to get tougher. So, I didn't love the slow start. I would like to see us, take that first drive, go down and get some sort of points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. But I don't like leaving a team hanging around. 7-0 with 7 minutes to go. You just want a little bit more to take place. And so to be able to turn it on and to be able to do those things, I think it's encouraging. But at the same time, I want to see a faster start from that bunch.
CT, let's talk a little bit about Evan Stewart, Chris Marshall, the 2 freshman wide receivers. Then we'll focus on some of the defensive guys. Look, they didn't have spectacular numbers. They had really good numbers, and it seemed like, especially with Evan, when he touched the ball, it felt like something amazing could happen at any moment.
Yeah, that guy is electric, and I think he has a bright future. And, I remember the whole back and forth with him and Jonte Cook, and he's saying he came to A&M to have 14 catches. Well, he's a third of the way there already. So, having 5 catches and even the little short crossers that he caught, you were like, something big is about to happen. And that, I think that's a testament to that whole receiver group. It starts with Anais has a monster game. I think Chase has a huge impact in that locker room. I think Preston has a huge impact in that locker room. But then you see the young guys. Chris Marshall gets out and he's making catches. YB, the guy is a burner. You have some guys that can legit stretch the field, and now you're seeing A&M be able to take those shots because that personnel is matching up to the things that we want to do. So I'm excited from that standpoint. But again, you're a little nervous about you're trying to stretch the field. Sometimes it's okay just to, dump it down, let Six do what he does, and make a big play for you in that regard. So encouraging things, but still some things to clean up starting tomorrow.
All right, let's talk Haynes for a moment. And just, was he pressing? Was he underthrowing? Well, I mean, he was definitely not getting the ball to the guys at times. I felt like he looked a lot more in command in the second half, but yet he still threw that one interception. 5 interceptions now in basically I don't know, 90, maybe 5 quarters of football.
Yeah. And you got to remember, he still has not played a lot of football on the college level. He hasn't played a ton. Getting hurt in that Colorado game last year, missing the whole season. He's still relatively new to the game of college football, especially playing quarterback at this level. So, hopefully that he can work some of those kinks out and he can work a lot of those things and get better, protect the football, understand what he has on the other side of the football. He has a group of guys that will flat get out and disrupt what the other team is trying to do. You don't have to hit the home run every time. It's okay to check it down and take the 3-4 yard dump. So I think once he understands that and he stops pressing, I thought he pressed a little bit today. He stops pressing and he just understands what a defense is trying to do. Don't do too much. Take what they give you. I think this offense, you're going to see it's going to explode, and then that's going to create a lot of running room for A-Chain in that backfield.
CT, if I would have told you the score was 31-0 before the game, okay, before, you don't know about the interceptions, would you have said, it's a little underwhelming? Or would you have been like, there you go, I did what they had to do?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think I tweeted out this week, I could care less what the score was because there were going to be some growing pains along the way. I think it was more so how were the guys going to react to those things? And so even when Haynes threw the interception, he came back and he was still throwing it down the field. He still made great throws, in drives after that. He threw the interception in the third. He came back and he made a play after that. So I think that's encouraging because he had a short memory. He's not lingering and hanging on, I made the mistake. Now I'm pressing even more. I don't want to make that mistake. I think he bounced back pretty well. And so 31-0, I mean, listen, it's the first game of the season. You got a lot of young guys playing. It's you getting Haynes acclimated back under center. There's a lot of moving parts on that. And so now I'm interested to see what that jump is going to look like from week 1 to week 2, because as they go in and they watch tape tomorrow, there are going to be some things to clean up, starting with those guys up front. And so I know that Jimbo is going to challenge those guys up front. He's going to get in their lunch tomorrow. And the biggest thing is, how do they react? How do they respond going from how they played today until how they play a week from today? And I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
We're going to bring in Brandon Leone back into the stream here. I don't know which one we're going to use, Dalton. You want to choose the view? We can choose the view. This view looks ridiculous. I'm in big screen mode. Gentlemen, let's go through Jimbo's commentary here. He just hit the podium not long ago. I'm going to read you one of his tweets, and we'll just kind of break it down. He goes, offensively, we came out too slow. I thought Haynes played a solid game, but he made 2 critical mistakes. This is what Jimbo says. I'll say that he made a couple more mistakes that we were lucky not to have those turnovers. But at the end of the day, it's how many turnovers you have. Your thoughts on Jimbo's assessment of the game? Brandon, you take it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I agree with it. No, I agree with it. I think CT touched on it too. I think we all touched on it. I mean, he had a solid game. The good was really good, and then the bad were the ones that make you concerned. And so ultimately, I think that the job of the quarterback of the Texas A&M football team, with the talent that we have on this roster, is to execute the offense to the best of your ability and to minimize turnovers and take care of the football. Don't try to force anything. Don't try to do anything that, you shouldn't do, and just be smart. And so Haynes, what it was underthrows. If he was trying to force it, I don't know enough after just watching it happen so quick. But what I know is he had a solid performance. I mean, the guy threw for over 300 yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He stayed in the pocket pretty well. So the guy just has to take care of the football. And yes, I agree that other DB could have slapped that interception down, or he could have caught it. He just slapped it down. I don't know why he didn't just catch it. That could have easily been a 3rd pick. So he's got to clean that stuff up. He has to.
Chris?
Yeah, I just think that he has to understand the situation. You're not going to win the game on one throw. It's a long football game, and realize the talent that you have around you. And I think Jimbo, he summed it up. You're midway through the first quarter, and you're punting it back and forth. I would like to have seen a faster start, but I understand also not being able to establish that run game. It gets you out of rhythm, and it makes you do some things that you don't quite want to do just yet. So, we have all the faith in Jimbo. I think he's going to do a great job. I think he's going to go and make the necessary corrections tomorrow and moving into next week. And you're going to see a different performance from that team next week.
Here's another one from Jimbo. It's a couple of bites I'm going to put together here. It says, we've got to eliminate the mistakes, but on the day we made big plays. We didn't get A-Chain going, but it's not his fault up front. We've got to be blocking better. He adds later that they have to, they played well on the offensive line in the second half, but the first half, they were certainly struggling. So let's talk about that. The offensive line not coming to play to start off, but also they were changing guys there too, guys. Oh, CT, you go first.
Yeah, I think it was encouraging that first drive of the second half. You look at the struggles that we had along the front in the first half, and then to be able to come out and now you want to establish your dominance and you want to be physical along that front. And we took it right down the field. And so that is a little bit more encouraging. That's the offensive line that we're accustomed to seeing. But, once you add Bryce back to the mix, you get Leighton in there and he's not rotating out as much. I think you have a solid anchor with Bryce, with Leighton, and with Deuce. Those 3 guys have been there. They've played a ton. And now it's just a matter of getting that cohesiveness. Yeah, I think people really underestimate that when you have a group of 5 guys up front and they don't have a ton of time together, it's hard to get a feel for where they're going to be. And I mean, even for the running backs, that could have contributed to some of A-Chain's issues today. Not having that offensive line in front of you to where you know where they're going to be, you understand where your cut is going to be, you understand what track you're supposed to be on and all of those things. And so once we get that bunch and it's a steady 5 and they're not in and out, I think you'll see a better performance up front from those guys in that group of 5.
Brandon?
Absolutely. I mean, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, each new season, every unit on the team is trying to form a different identity, right, and build that cohesiveness, like he said. And it took this offensive line last year a little bit while to get going and really start to establish a strong run game. And that's when we went on that really solid run mid-year last year, is when they finally started getting the cohesiveness, playing together, getting a feel for each other, trusting each other more. And so when you're rotating a lot and trying to get a feel, you've had some injuries, it's hard to get that consistency going. But that consistency to me is the key for this football team. Yeah, we came out slow in the first half and they came out stronger in the second half. This football team, I'm telling you, they're always right there, that next step, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's linebacker play, whether it's quarterback play. We've got to find a way to be consistent for 4 quarters. We flash all the time the talent that we have, beating Alabama last year. There's different times, and then we go and lose games that we shouldn't lose. Mm-hmm. We have got to become more consistent as a football team. And you can hear Jimbo in his press conferences. I know he's preaching that to the kids. The kids got to just answer the call. They got to do it. I know they can. This is a freaking talented roster of football players, and they can do it. They got to keep working, focusing on the little details, and understanding that, you got to jump out of the gates fast every single game, because whether it's App State or whether it's Alabama, people are going to always come at us with their best shot, and we got to give them ours.
Yep. All right, let's close it up with the thoughts on Appalachian State, who took North Carolina down to the wire. That game was phenomenal. Luckily, that happened, a lot of that during the weather delay out there. CT, look, I don't want to say it's a scary game because it's a game that A&M should absolutely win. But offensively, they got to be better in that game. Defensively, I'm not as worried, even though that team can put up some points.
Yeah, and I look at our roster versus North Carolina. That Appalachian State, North Carolina, that's an in-state game. Appalachian State is jacked. They're getting North Carolina at home. But I think our front seven, you look at the rotation with the guys up front and then our linebacker unit. I think our unit is better than North Carolina's. When I think to be able to get home and put pressure on the quarterback will absolutely be able to limit some of those big plays. And then on the back end, I mean, we haven't even talked about we were missing three starter or three guys that contribute on the back end a ton. And so to see young guys step up and to be able to contribute the way they do, um, I have all the faith in the world in that defensive unit. It just comes back to we've got to protect the football. We can't give them extra possessions and we cannot give them short fields. That's when you start getting yourself in trouble and you start giving yourself a chance to get upset. So I think as a fan, we can't compare scores. We can't look at what other teams have done. All we can do is worry about what Texas A&M does and what we do from week to week. And I think if we go out and we limit the mistakes, we play physical football, we establish the run, and we take our shots down the field, we're going to be just fine.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Brandon Leone and Chris Taylor on the show. Oh my goodness, both of us doing it at the same time. A couple of closing thoughts. So yes, it's 5 interceptions in 9 quarters. Somebody I was getting confused with last season's numbers. You got to add the quarters from this year. So there is that. But look, when you win 31-0, you have your first shutout since 1993, and there's a lot of room for improvement. And a lot of players did not play on the offensive line, on the defensive backs. There's a lot of players that did not get into this game, but you got youth in there, and the youth that came in there played very well. Haynes King definitely got the rust off. I mean, let's not forget, coming back from injury is a big deal in a live action game. Yes, he had some scrimmages, and yes, he practices against Texas A&M, but there's something to be said about doing that in a real game. He's got that under his belt. He looked better as the game went on, control the offense better. They've got to get the offensive line taken care of, and I think that'll happen, and get some health here for Appalachian State. And then, of course, the Miami game, which it looks like it'll probably be an ESPN game day, college game day here. So, but at the end of the day, they win 31-0, and they'll go to practice. They'll fix a little bit of the things, and they'll get some guys back for next week. The final was 31-0, Texas A&M over Sam Houston. We'll take that victory. Our very big thanks to Higginbotham Insurance for being a presenting sponsor of this TexAgs postgame wrap. All right, guys, Billy and I will have something for you tomorrow, and, of course, TexAgs Radio on Monday morning. All that, and we'll continue to be breaking it down on the TexAgs message board. Thanks so much for watching. This is the TexAgs postgame wrap brought to you by Higginbotham Insurance.